Eliksni, once a proud, prominent species, united in a world of innovation and wonder under their great machine. After a cataclysmic event they called the Whirlwind destroyed their homeworld, they've become scavengers, a world-combing, nomadic force of pirates that we know as the Fallen. Years of battle against them have given us more knowledge of their heritage and history, and recent events have provided us even more insight into this alien society that's not so much of the darkness as we may have imagined, but more of despair, anger, and vengeance. The following is information compiled by Warlock Studies, Hunter reports, and Titan briefings sent back to the Vanguard about the names and roles of this, what seems to be our most common of enemies. Before we begin, allow me to explain to you newer Guardians their apparent ranking structure. The Fallen, as we call them, have a caste system of sorts, where valor and victory in battle is the only way to advance up their chain of command, and failure will have you stripped of all of your power. Dregs are the foot soldiers, grunts. Eliksni are all born with 4 arms, but 2 of the dregs are docked when they join a house. Only through glory in battle can their arms be undocked, and with that, be exalted into the next rung of fallen power. Vandals, the lieutenants of a fallen force, are no pushovers in battle. Among promotion, these and the higher ranks have access to effective armaments for a multitude of scenarios. Optic camouflage, similar to those used by hunters, and arc-infused blades that have cut down unsuspecting guardians many times in the past. The most telling difference between Vandal and Dreg, aside from its restored appendages, are that Vandals are also bestowed their cloaks, donning the banner of their house with aplomb. Fallen captains are powerful adversaries that must be dealt with swiftly. They possess the same tools as Vandals, but have grown to be immensely stronger physically and add one more trick to their repertoire: teleportation. Similar to the blink ability used by hunters and warlocks, and curiously enough, similar to teleportation used by the Vex. Captains can escape from oncoming threats and regroup. In the face of direct action, Fallen rank and file from Captain and above are also known to use arc-powered overshields to protect them from damage. From this point, we get into the pantheon of the Fallen House's command, starting with Barons. Barons oversee captains, who in turn oversee Vandals and Dregs. Their abilities are identical to captains, but Barons possess superior physical strength, and the cunning that comes from years of battlefield experience. Barons can also, depending on the situation, lay claim to one of the 2 Fallen leadership positions, Archon or Kel. At the helm of Fallen Command is a trinity of sorts. Archons act in tandem with Servitors, the machines that feed the Fallen with ether to survive. More specifically, the all-powerful Prime Servitors, while Kels are the Field Generals, commanding Fallen forces from the throne of their massive ketch ships. There's been confirmation that a house can actually have multiple of these title holders, but often infighting and mutiny make it so that usually only one stands atop a Fallen House's chain of command. There are several fallen houses that roam the world. Each one is structured in the rankings I've reported, though some are unknown as to how. It's important to know that there is no central control of all fallen, and that each house acts on its own, with some exception. The House of Exile are based on Earth's moon. We only have scant details of their existence from early reports by a wayward titan who sadly fell, his light drained by the hive in front of the Temple of Crota. We believe the exiles are malcontents from other fallen houses, likely deserters from the Battle of Twilight Gap, who've decided to forge their own house. We have no knowledge of their leadership structure, or even if there is one to be spoken of. If there is a Kel or Archon or Prime Servitor, they have yet to surface. Their focus is attempting to scavenge hive artifacts from the Hellmouth. Only one exile baron has yet to be encountered, named Frigoris, who was defeated in one such incursion on the shrine of the hive god Oryx, now being titled by many as the Taken King. The House of Devils, we believe, were at one point under control of the House of Kings, and then fell under control of the House of Wolves. In either case, this house finds itself severely weakened from battles against the Vanguard. Rixus, the Devil's Archon, was defeated early within our conflict by guardians whom hadn't even reached their full potential, as is Naxxus, a baron who originates from the House of Winter, who led devils in the failed defense of their lair, which ultimately led to the destruction of their prime servitor, Sepix Prime. The Devil's Kel was killed long before this report by the Titan Saint 14. This, plus the death of its Archon and Prime Servitor, has rendered the House Devils near extinct, and a non-threat in Guardian's controls of the Earth. In similar fashion, the House of Winter, based in the Ishtar Sink on Venus, are also in a state of weakened existence. Their goals were to extract any Golden Age information from the long-deserted archives of the Ishtar Academy to assimilate into their own technology. Leading that charge was a baron named Grelix, who was killed successfully by Guardians, who succeeded to access the archive and provide vital information for the city. A high servitor called Simix III was also identified in this battle, believed to be an offspring of Simix Prime, Winter's prime servitor, who has been long since destroyed. This led to the pursuit of the Winter Kel Draxus aboard his ketch, where he too was defeated, and House Winter dealt a severe blow. Winter attempted to restore its lost power by raiding the prison of elders in the reef to free Axor, an Archon priest that was once of the House of Wolves. This isn't the only time that House Winter has directly aligned with other houses. These failings to bolster their ranks are most likely the reason why House Winter almost willingly subjugated themselves to the House of Wolves. The House of Kings remains a persistent threat to the city, waiting in the shadows. We believe their ultimate goal is the same as was the Battle of Twilight Gap, to take back the Traveler, their great machine, and restore their place in the galaxy. To this day, we've only faced small portions of their forces, and specifically only 3 barons. Paskin and Vekis battled Guardians and Wolves, who attempted to take over their post within the King's Watch of the Cosmodrome in Old Russia. Then there was Fixit, a baron whose forces were lured into conflict against us by the wicked will of the High Prince Crota Omnigul. To our knowledge, There is an Archon, a Kel, and a Prime Servitor that's at the helm of the Kings, but neither our forces nor our allies have yet to encounter. Finally, there is the House of Wolves. If any fallen house symbolizes the fractured and conflicted nature of this alien species, this one does. Their story is synonymous with the Reef Wars that took place around the same time as the fabled Battle of Twilight Gap. After being subjugated to Mara Sov, Queen of the Reef, they rebelled under the lead of the ambitious Skolas, self-proclaimed Kel of Kels. Infighting and maneuvering during the Reef Wars put him in this sole position, and an army of fallen warriors fight under his command with the goal of uniting all the fallen houses under one banner, his. This mutiny prompted the call forth from the Queen through her emissary Petrovenge for all guardians to the reef to fulfill the bounties of tracking down and destroying the prowling wolves wherever they may be. Many of Skolas' forces also played intricate roles within this reef war. There's Picus, the Disavowed, a baron whose failed attempts at rescuing fallen allies led to his own capture, and also led him to have his arms docked, thus demoting him back to the title of Dre. There's Velenix, the Ravenous, who refused to accept the wolves' defeat and sought out to become a Kel himself before being hunted down and captured by Petrovenge. There's Beltric the Veiled, whose title refers to a tactic he used to try to trick Awoken Paladin Abrazire in a battle known as the Fortuna Plummet. There's Drevis, Wolf Baroness, who led a strike of Silent Fang in a battle known as the Raids of Amethyst, an attack which killed many of the Queen's Guard, and Mecher Orbix 11, one of the many servitors of the Orbix name, believed to have been absorbed into the Wolf Banner from another fallen house. There's Wexus the Meek, a bold dreg who led an unsanctioned charge during the siege on Pallas which weakened the hull of the Athens, and Persis, the Palace Bane, who followed up this attack with an attempt to free a captured High Servitor that saw him kill Imogen Rife, one of the more storied of the Queen's Paladins. There's Greyor, Wolf Assassin, a loyal vassal to Skolas, whom killed many of his own brethren, all those who would challenge Skolas' ascension to the title of Kel. There's Calix 12, a High Servitor, once the Servitor of the Ketch of the former Wolf Kel Scrivix. Skolas himself tried to rescue it from Awoken custody, leading to the events which ended the Reef Wars. There's the Reborn Calix, reanimated by wolves within the Prison of Elders, as an attempt to resurrect Calix Prime, their former Prime Servitor. And lastly, there is Savix, Queenbreaker, ironically the first to pledge their loyalty to the Queen after the Cybele Uprising, which ended the Reef War, bestowed the title of Queenbreaker, and appointed the honor of serving in the Queen's throne room to the right of the Queen herself. The combination of Awoken and Fallen technology was used to develop the weapons of their namesake, the Queenbreaker's bow. Once a weapon wolves used in their service to her, now a prize for guardians whom fulfill tasks within the Reef's arena. This grouping is collectively known as the Wolf Pack, all fugitives of the Reef and pursued relentlessly by guardians. There are also those among the fallen who act on their own accord. Scorix, the Archon Slayer, broke away from the House of Wolves after their rebellion and attempted to station on the moon. Then there's Tanix, the Scarred, a scourge within the Fallen lore, a hired mercenary, ruthless and cunning, who pledges only to his own will and works for the highest bidder. It was Tanix who led the raid on the Prison of Elders, which released Axor to House Winter. It's also Tanix who killed Andal Brask, the former Hunter Vanguard. Finally, there's Varix, the Loyal, the last of the House of Judgment. This house was once scribes of Eliksni lore, keepers of the race's laws and history. Now, in the tattered state of the fallen houses, Varix is loyal to the Queen, and was instrumental not once, but twice, against the wolves in their attempts to conquer all fallen. Varix also serves as the warden for the Prison of Elders, which serves as not only a hold for enemies of the Awoken, but also an arena, a contest of combat, where warriors awoken and otherwise do battle for glory and unknown treasure as prize. While there are some who question his true motives, his knowledge on the Fallen has proven instrumental. For as much as we know now of the Eliksni or the Fallen, there still are more questions laying in wait to be asked. Are there more fallen houses among the stars? What of the one house right at our doorstep who still remains dormant? When and how hard might they strike? And what of those exiled scavengers on the moon? With Crota slain, it's now more than ever an open wound. Can we seal it before they succeed in finding something dark and powerful of hive origin that may render them a serious threat? This once proud species of beings find themselves at a crossroads. Can they find prosperity, or are they doomed to annihilation? Keep this in mind, Guardians. The Fallen are in fact our predecessors. They know of the abundant power the light brings, and of the great threat that can destroy all because of it, if not careful. Let our exploration and inquisitive nature of learning and expanding the universe in our name not blind us from the ever-present truth that the darkness is growing all around us. And as much as we wish to learn from it, we must ultimately destroy it. Or one way or the other, it will destroy us.